Hey, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be cooking some chicken gizzard stew, and I'm going to have it with some rice. So these are all the delicious ingredients that we are going to use to cook this delicious meal. Okay, so we have our white pepper for seasoning, we have our paprika, we have our rosemary, we have bay leaves to give it that smell, we have a curry powder, we have a black pepper, and then of course we have adobo, we have a chicken flavor bouillon, we have a fresh bell peppers, we have a green onions called scallions, onions, tomatoes, maggi, and peppers, everything. So let's get started. Okay, to start you have to cut your chicken gizzard. So what I normally do is to go through the chicken gizzard, because sometimes there is a brown stuff on there, and that brown stuff, if you cook it with a gizzard, it's gonna make your gizzard taste bitter. So what I normally do is check, like I'm doing right now. I was checking to look for it, but I couldn't find it until the end of like cutting everything. But yeah, you have to always check when you are cooking your chicken gizzard, because you don't want to cut that stuff and then cook it with your gizzard. It's not gonna be good at all. So yeah, that's the first step, is for you to cut it. See, I finally found it. This is how it looks like. So if you ever buy chicken gizzard, make sure you look for that and take it off. It's easy to get off, but you have to find it. Okay, so after I took that off, my chicken gizzard have already been cut and washed already. So the next process is for you to season it. I do not play with my seasoning, so I added first my rosemary, and then I'm going to add my the black pepper. I add my curry, just a little bit of them, just a sprinkle of them. Like, I do not take measurements for these ones, because you just need a sprinkle over the chicken gizzard. So just put all the seasonings that you have available in your house. I cook a lot, so I have so many seasonings, and it's actually important to have many seasonings, because the more seasoned, the more flavor, right? So I end up putting all the seasoning that I took out. I have more, but these were just the ones I wanted to use for the stew today. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and mix it and get my pot ready. So this is the trick. Whenever I am cooking meat, whatever it is, gizzard, chicken, anything, I make sure after I season it, I normally put Maggi cube. So then I'm gonna put my Maggi cube, and the other thing I do is to let it cook in its own juice. Okay, so over here I am cutting my bell peppers into 1/4 of it. So I'm just gonna use 1/4 of like every color of bell peppers that I had. Yellow bell peppers, I had orange, and I think the other one is like orange yellow color kind of thing. So I went ahead and sliced them like that, so that they look really beautiful. That was the goal. I wanted this stew to be pleasing to the eyes and also be tasty. So that's how I cut all my bell peppers. So that's the chicken gizzard cooking in its own juice. You have to let your meat cook in its own juice first before you go ahead and add water. So again, I'm prepping. I got my onions. I normally just take the ends of the onions off first, and then I peel it. I take the skin off, and then I'm going to slice it into pieces. You always want to slice your onions into pieces whenever you're making stew. It is very important, because onions give that sweet flavor. Every Sierra Leonean, when we are cooking stew, we make sure we put a lot of onions in it. And if you have never tried it, you use a lot of tomatoes instead of onions, try using a lot of onions, and trust me, you will see the difference, and you will come back to this channel and give me a thumbs up, right? Okay, so yeah, you slice your onions like that. So at this point, the juice was already dry. Now I went ahead and put 1 cup of water for it to cook. I did not want to put too much water, because I don't want to take that flavor away, so I just kept adding water to it. So then I went ahead and cut my tomatoes, because I needed to blend those. So just cut all your vegetables that you have available. I had this long green peppers. I also cut them. You can cut them into any size because I actually blended these ones. I didn't put them whole into the stew. And then these are my scallions. In Sierra Leone we call them lunge yabas because there's a place called Lunge, and this type of onions grew there a lot, so got the name lunge yabas. In America, scallions. Okay, so the juice was already dry. I added 1 more cup of water. I just kept adding 1 cup because I didn't want to overcook it. I want that kind of crunchy taste to it. So at this point I had cut all my vegetables. My onions were lovely sliced, and then my bell peppers, and of course my green onions or lunge yabas or scallions. And then I went ahead and blend some of the other peppers that I had, the habanero pepper, and then the green pepper, the tomatoes, and then some of the onions, part of the onions. I just blend them all together. So I went back to my pot and looked, and I noticed that the water was dry. I added 1 more cup, and I noticed the meat wasn't done yet. So just keep adding water as you go. So I blended my onions, peppers, and everything was ready. So now the actual process starts. The meat I've already dried, and then I start with putting my pot. I put my plain pot on there and then turn my oil. Actually use 1 cup of oil. That's all I used for this recipe. So I put my 1 cup of oil, and you have to let the oil heat up. I normally put like onions or anything I have available to tell me when it's heat up. So my oil was heat up. I went ahead and put my chicken gizzard. Now there's a trick. I don't want you to leave your chicken gizzard. You have to keep turning it because you don't want it to be too dry. So I was actually very attentive through this process not to make it too dry. So you have to keep mixing it so that every angle of the chicken gizzard will be fried. And after it was like golden the way I wanted it, I took it out and put it on the side. And now it's time for me to start making my stew. And again, the other reason why you use that same oil that you used to fry the chicken gizzard is to build flavor. The chicken gizzard was seasoned, so there was a lot of flavor there, and now you're adding your onions, and that's you adding more flavor to your stew. So that's the first process. So I put my onions, and then they were cooking. Then I add my bell peppers. Actually put my bell peppers second because they will take time for it to cook because it's a little bit hard. So you have to keep watching. When you're cooking stew, you cannot leave that stew, okay? So you keep looking, and after it is cooked for a while, you can go ahead and add your blended peppers, onions, and tomato. And on the side, I went ahead and put all my seasonings that I have. I measure them. I'm going to put all the measurements in the description box. I took a bit of all of them and mixed them together just to make my work easier. So you can do the same thing. If you're not doing a video, just make sure you sprinkle or you take certain amount of your seasoning and just put it together and put it on your stew, because when you're cooking stew, you want the stew to be flavored, okay? So I went ahead and put my tomato paste. I only put a little bit of tomato paste because I do not like that's too much sourness to it. The reason why I use tomato paste is mostly for the color. Look how beautiful that color is. So I went ahead and add just a little bit of water, maybe like a half a cup of water, just so that the tomato can cook. Then I went ahead and add all my seasonings that I already put, and then you have to mix it. Then go ahead and add your chicken bouillon. I decided to use, I think, 1 tablespoon of that. And then I only had 1 jumbo cube left because I put the first jumbo cube for the when I was cooking the gizzard. So I added that to it, and to be honest, the chicken bouillon and then the Maggi, oh my god, it tasted so good. Now you don't have to have Maggi, just put whatever it is that you have available in your house, whatever season. So I went ahead and put my bay leaves, because bay leaves give your stew that kind of smell. It's so beautiful. Ah, the stew looks so good. So you go ahead and put your scallions, green onions. You mix it with your stuff, and at this point, look at my stew. It was all done. Okay, and this stew tasted so good. I wish you guys were here to try it with me, but you can try it at home. Okay, thank you all for watching, and I will continue to bring you all the wonderful content. Make sure you are cooking them and give me a thumbs up. Give me suggestions of videos that you want, and I will gladly make them. Thank you, and God bless you.